Hi there, Dr. Boris here. Welcome to our podcast on YouTube. Criza?
Yep, we're also on iTunes and Podomatic still, but we live here now. We live here, and we're going to be here.
And we like it here. All right. Remember, like, follow, and subscribe. And what are you going to do to that bell?
You're going to ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Well, love that. All right. So, hacks, healthy hacks for longevity. Because remember, everything we eat goes inside our body.
Right.
And that allows us to live longer. So, what about drinking 2 cups of water 20 to 30 minutes before you eat? Whole big glass of water, 8 ounces, perfect.
And that's super important for weight loss.
Exactly.
Right.
So, here's what the research has shown. Between 225 and 270 calories are saved if you do that, if you drink a big glass of water 20 to 30 minutes before you eat, because it expands your stomach. It makes you feel like you already have some content in it, and
Right.
you eat less.
That's super important.
So drink water before, drink water during and after too, but 20 minutes to 30 minutes before, drink those 2 glasses.
Okay, that's so important. And also, I think about eating, just eating too quickly, eating too fast.
Perfect. That is exactly another one. We're segueing into another one. Chew your food. Mm-hmm. Studies also have shown that people who chew their food before they swallow it end up consuming less calories.
Right.
The reason being is because it increases the time by which you finish your meal. Mm-hmm. It takes your body or your brain 20 minutes to find out that it's eaten something. Sugar levels need to be raised and your brain to detect it. So
make sure you're chewing your food well. Chew, and don't just swallow it.
Correct, because we're used to just chewing 2-3 times and then we swallow it and that's it.
Right.
Now, in China, the study that they did, they chew it 40 times on average. Can you imagine that?
I'm always telling my son, slow down, chew your food. It's not going away. Chew.
You know what else? It's also recommended, since we're right in that same study, eat in smaller plates.
Okay, portion control.
Exactly. So if you have the big plates at home, just don't use those unless you're going to fill them up with fiber, vegetables, and grains and legumes. The smaller the plate, it gives you the illusion, and this is based on a study that showed that the illusion of having that small plate filled
Makes
up.
You feel like you have more.
Exactly, because we eat with our eyes before we taste with our mouth.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you end up consuming less calories.
Right.
And next thing, straight from there is, guess what happens? As we said before, it takes you longer to eat. So what you want to do is this. Let's say you finish all that food in that plate really quick.
What are you talking about?
The next hack.
Okay.
Do not eat or refill that plate until 20 minutes have passed.
So sit at the table for 20 minutes and then have seconds?
If you're hungry.
Okay.
See, the next hack is eat to when you feel 80% full.
Okay.
Don't finish eating, don't say I'm not done because I'm not full yet. But when you start feeling that your stomach is getting full, you go, maybe I'll stop here.
Don't stuff yourself.
Correct, because then you allow the time for your brain to catch up, and then you'll be full. But if you eat until you're full, then that sugar levels rises and it's too late. You've consumed 200, 300, 400, or 500 more calories.
Well, that's another thing with just life pace, going too fast, eating too fast.
Exactly.
Eating too much.
And being distracted. So another suggestion, turn off the TV. Okay. Don't walk and eat. Don't be on your computer and be putting something in your mouth just because you say, oh, it's time to eat. Disconnect yourself from the TV, from the computer. Do it in an environment where you could enjoy that food.
Right.
So Don't be looking at any extra distractions.
I don't have a TV in my kitchen.
Beautiful.
Or dining room.
You know what else is suggested?
Take away the devices.
Yes,
No
especially for the
phones.
kids.
Yeah,
Especially for
no
the
phones.
kids. So another suggestion is eat by a window or by a view, because now you're also feeding the other senses. You're listening to the sounds, or you're looking at something that is distracting you, and allows you to concentrate in slowly eating your food.
So chew more slowly and be happy looking at scenery. Not everyone can
Absolutely.
do this in big cities, Boris.
Exactly. Well, but if you don't have that, then just do it. Eat it at home in your dining room or your
Okay.
kitchen table without other distractions. If you want to put some nice music on,
Background
that'd be
music.
great. Yeah, because you see, you're getting the experience.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just allowing your hunger to.
So
shove
what
all
I'm
the
hearing
stuff.
is make mealtime special.
Exactly. Now, another thing that really helps is prepare your meals.
Okay.
Okay? The prepping of your meals makes it easier for you to control what goes in it. So the hack of preparing your meals also brings on something very important. We want to eat things that are wholesome. You don't want processed foods. Processed foods have lots of sugar in it.
So what I think you're saying by prepare your food is to gather your own ingredients. Don't get packages of already made food or made products.
Exactly.
And prepare it by doing everything on your own.
And that starts from the supermarket, wherever, or your market. You know,
Your
it
source.
doesn't have to be a supermarket. You actually, this is another real good hack. Find out where your farmer's market is in your community. And even if you have to drive a little bit, I recommend you do that. Why? Because you have fresh foods there that are usually not, prepared for
Right.
you. So buy your fresh foods, but if you go to a supermarket, avoid the middle aisle. That's the next hack.
Okay, you always say avoid the middle aisle, stay on the outskirts.
Absolutely. Fresh foods are usually on both ends.
Right.
You go to your vegetables and fruits, and on the other side, you got the fresh meats. Gonna go in the middles maybe to get ice cream.
Right. And
or
cookies,
get cookies
chips,
and all that stuff.
all the bad things.
You have to end up, you end up having to go sometimes to those, because then you got to get, toothpaste and soap and deodorants and things like that. But mostly go to the outside of your establishment, the establishment that you frequent, if you don't go to your local farmer's market. Get fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh vegetables and fruits, and your meats.
Right.
And then get out.
And how you're cooking, oil.
Perfect. Now, what you eat is also very important, but how you cook what
Right.
you eat is important. So that's the next one. So we don't want to have these oils that come from seeds that have been pressed or heated in order to be bottled and sold.
So what oil do we want to use? Olive oil,
Extra virgin olive oil,
extra virgin, coconut oil,
exactly, or avocado oil.
avocado oil.
Now, the reason being, these oils have a high burning point. What does that mean? It means that it takes a very high temperature for these oils to actually smoke. That makes sure that the cis form of that oil does not turn into trans fat,
Okay.
which are carcinogenic.
And you said no refried oils.
Correct. Every time anytime you use these oils, and if there's any residual, because sometimes we, fry foods that require quite a bit of volume, do not reuse it. Collect them in a can.
No
take them.
reusing your bacon grease.
Not all, especially that. So use the right amount. That's why a lot of times stir frying is best, because it's just a little bit, and it is done in a high temperature, and it's done quickly.
What about sesame oil?
Sesame oil is good, but I like sesame oil to be as a dressing after you've cooked, because it comes from a seed, and the seeds have to be pressed really hard and or chemically extracted, that oil, and heated.
Okay.
So by the time you're using it to cook something, to heat up, you end up having, again, a secondary heating, and you don't want that
So
oil.
don't use it as your main oil. Sometimes
just
it's
sprinkle
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Anything else that you had in mind?
Well, that was good as far as eating and food. What about living? Healthy living.
All right. So here's another hack. All right. Now you're nice and satisfied. You ate to your 80% capacity, and you want to make sure that your insulin levels are not spiked because of your glucose has gone up. That's why you eat. It's just to have glucose in you.
Are we going to
your
talk
brain.
about dessert?
Well, if you're going to have dessert, also make sure that they're natural type of desserts. You have to make sure there's no extra sugar added, and
That's
it
gonna
is.
be hard.
Well, see, that's the secret to longevity. Anything that is worth having, like living a long time, is hard.
Okay, I made boys banana bread on Friday. So that's healthy because I, made my own banana bread. But ice cream, other alternative desserts. Kids always want desserts.
Anytime you do this, make sure that it's a treat. Ice cream is good. Does it mean you can never eat it? Of course not. But don't be eating ice cream every day.
Right.
And if you do, control your portions.
Right. Okay.
Most of the times, when you already have eaten a good amount of food that you prepared without the extra sugar and bad oils, you usually end up not really having a sweet tooth.
No, sometimes it's just a couple bites, some little special treat, something to bribe them sometimes to eat their food. It's special for kids.
I agree. They burn a lot of calories,
Right.
so it's okay. So here's another hack.
Okay.
If you've had carbohydrates that you've eaten in a little more quantity that you want, what you want to do is towards the end of that meal, if you had that dessert, sprinkle some cinnamon powder on it.
Cinnamon.
Exactly. This actually slows down the spike of glucose in your bloodstream, meaning the sugar levels in your bloodstream. Slows it down.
Okay.
Here's another one. Do squats or push-ups. A high intensity but short-lived exercise puts a demand on major muscle groups such
Okay.
as squatting.
So do squats at random times in the day.
Because your body, well, after you've eaten like that,
Oh, after you've eaten?
yeah, if you've eaten a meal that has a lot of carbohydrates in it, okay?
Okay.
And we're going to also give you another hack on those. When you do that, those muscles demand quick carbohydrate energy, and it will use it from
So
what...
after dinner, start squatting.
Well, no, again, like I told you, if it is a large meal, such as, potatoes and stuffing, what does that sound like? Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
It's coming. So what you want to do is, you want to do some type of exercise like that is actually going to take away that fast increase in sugar levels in your bloodstream.
So the family that squats together stays
together. Now, don't be doing squats every meal, but I'm
You have
talking
a nice
about
butt.
this is, well, then that's a side effect of that hack. So what you want to do is if you're feeling a little sluggish and that's usually because of that, because your sugar levels have increased and now your insulin has slammed you down. Do the squats, do some push-ups. That's the origin of that turkey trot they call.
Yeah.
It's because we want to get some of that sugar to start burning it.
Okay.
Another thing you might want to do now that we talk about carbohydrates, and this is really, really cool. I grew up eating rice. White rice.
Me too. Rice.
Exactly, in Asia, right? Mm-hmm. So here's what is suggested. When you cook it, put it away, pre-cook it. Put it in the refrigerator. 12 hours or even 24 hours later, you can get it out of the refrigerator and either even heat it up again. But the magical thing that occurs is that carbohydrate degradation is called, occurs. Now, if you eat it straight out of the stuff with the stove, once you just cooked it.
I use a rice cooker.
Okay, so if you eat it right away, you're having at its you have that rice at its highest glycemic index point, meaning how fast that white rice is going to turn into sugar. But if you, and this is documented, it's researched, if you take that rice and you put it in a refrigerator for a minimum of 12 hours and it cools down, carbohydrate degradation occurs.
To ask. I like fresh rice.
Well, but you can heat it up again. Happens to be that once you heat it up again, that degradation has occurred to a point that when you eat it back hot, your digestive system, especially your intestines, recognize it as a different type of carbohydrate, and it actually turns it into a prebiotic.
Okay, I'll take your word for that, but that's
turns
going to be
into
a
a
rough
prebiotic,
one.
and it feeds your internal flora, your gut flora. Okay, that happens with rice. It happens with bread. Put your bread in the refrigerator when you buy it from the store. You can heat it up, later to make toast, but eat it the next day. You can do that with pasta. Now, potatoes. Most of us say potatoes are no-nos because they're, starchy. Guess what? It's been found out that if you cook it at a high intensity heat for a short period of time.
So like boiling it or frying it?
No,
or what?
that'll be the opposite. If you boil it, you have to wait until it just gets soft again, or if you bake it until it actually softens up. So guess what? Stick it in the microwave. Stab it a couple of times. Yes. Stick it in the microwave. It'll be done in 5 minutes, depending on the size of it. You can do that with yams too.
Yeah.
That actually assures that the carbohydrates that you're going to be eating are less likely to spike your sugar levels in a high index.
Well, if you're eating all your protein, your rice, your meat and stuff,
next, you're awesome. That's the next hack. Guess what? You can eat fats or proteins prior to your starchy carbohydrates.
Right.
Because not all carbohydrates are starchy, of course. That actually slows down, assures you your digestive system to slow down that sugar level to spike up, and that's the basics. Those are the basics.
And that's another thing from Asia. You have your little bowl. You eat your all your different dishes, and then they bring in the rice after.
Smart. Absolutely. So what do? Chopsticks. Guess what?
One bite at a time.
Exactly. You can, shove a whole bunch of food with chopsticks. They do put the rice in a bowl and they go like that, but still they got to get, the other
and
things that they're
it's a bite here
eating.
and there. You're not.
So eat a fat or a protein that contains a fat before you eat your starchy carbohydrates. Also, breaking your fast when we're gonna eat breakfast.
Okay, first let's start with the fast. When are we fasting?
Last time you had some food. Let's say last night you ate at 6 o'clock. By the way, that's another good.
So you're talking
thing.
about breaking your fast as in breakfast?
Correcto. What you want to do is last meal you had last night. Let's say you and I'm a purist on this. I will say the last bite.
The last bite you had.
Correct, because I don't want you thinking that, so you started eating at 6, but you ended up at a protracted dinner and finished by 9.
Right.
No, you want to eat the last bite.
Breaking your fast is from the point you had your dinner, whatever,
correct,
to breakfast.
You go to bed, you sleep, blah, blah, blah. You get up, and then you're breaking that fast time of 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is. How do you want to do that?
So your hack is how to break the fast.
Correct.
What to put in your mouth.
Correct, exactly, because if you get the cereals or if you get the sugary stuff,
okay, so we already know those crappy
it's
cereals.
going to come up like that really fast.
A pile of dung.
So
what should you put in your mouth?
Protein or a fat.
Okay, so an egg.
You can have an avocado. Correct. Now, if you had your bread that's been in the refrigerator for over 12 hours and stuff, you can heat it up.
What if it's sitting on the counter?
Well, no, it has not gone through that degradation through the cold. Okay. So put it in there. You can
it needs to be in the fridge.
You can actually even freeze it. Okay. That's what is mostly suggested. So you get your avocado, spread it over it, and then get an egg. Put it on that. Another one.
What about avocado toast?
There you go. You can do that too.
Okay.
But don't eat a half of loaf of avocado toast, of course.
No.
Right? So the other thing that is very important is what else do you put on it? Okay?
On what? On the bread?
On the bread, yeah.
Or
You
the
can
avocado?
You can put butter in it.
Okay, definitely putting butter.
Butter, but don't use margarine, okay? That's just a no-no.
Margarine is out.
And then you eat your breakfast, but one of the things that I suggest is we want to have an hour or two before we eat that breakfast. Do you know what we call that?
Well, what do you mean we want to have an hour or two? An hour or
That's
two
an interval
of being
fasting.
awake?
Interval fasting.
Okay.
Got it?
I don't understand because I literally drag the kids out of bed and give them breakfast and then run them to school. So they can't be up 2 hours before breakfast.
Modify the game. Instead, get them out of bed and then they got to go shower and then they got to go get dressed. That's when, and then they go eat because then, well, again, for children,
for kids it doesn't matter.
For children it doesn't really matter because they're burning calories and stuff. But for adults, that's what you want to do.
So for adults, try to be awake 2 hours before you eat.
And that is one of our next big podcast or shows or videos that we're going to talk about how to properly start interval fasting.
I think a lot of adults don't even eat breakfast.
That's good, but then when they break that fast, what do they eat?
So what are they eating?
And then they go ahead and have a cup of coffee and they put sugary stuff in it.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think we've gotten a few of these hacks for you to use. For more great content like this, like, follow, subscribe, and what are you going to do to that bell?
And you're going to ring that bell.
Beautiful.
Ring that bell. You got to follow us, like, subscribe, and remember, we're still on
iPod?
iPod, no.
No. What is it? Podomatic?
We're still on Podomatic and iCloud. No, we're not on iCloud. So can we stop this?
iTunes.
We're still on Podomatic and iTunes.
Correct.
But essentially, follow us here on YouTube because this is our new home.
And what's the name?
Oh, and if you would like to buy Dr. Boris a coffee, he would love a coffee. And I would rather him not be grouchy. So I would love for you to buy him a coffee.
How do you buy me a coffee?
However the hell you choose.
PayPal. Put it on PayPal and they tell me.
Send me $5 in an envelope.
Dr.
Boris's coffee.
You got coffee today.
For my sake.
Excellent. Well, thank you for watching our video and listening to us on our podcast. And we'll see you soon. Remember, be healthy and be
wise
and happy.
Happy always.
Yes.
Happy.
Be healthy and happy.
Yes. And eat your avocados.
Bye-bye.